诺贝尔奖得主、英国皇家学会会长 Sir Paul Nurse 应台湾桥梁计划首度访台，2月11日于中央研究院以 What is Life 为题发表演讲。中研院院长廖俊智指出，英国皇家学会为英国最高学术机构，纳斯卓越的学术声望与领导才能，成为史上第一位2度出任该会会长的学者，期盼中研院与英国皇家学会扩大合作。中研院基因体研究中心主任李志浩表示，纳斯发现真核细胞周期的关键调控机制，于2001年与 Tim Hunt、Leland Hartwell 共同获得诺贝尔生医奖。纳斯的研究奠定现代细胞生物学的核心架构，为解析癌症肿瘤形成的分子机制以及抗癌治疗策略提供重要的理论基础。台湾桥梁计划由中研院携手台湾大学等多所学研机构与世界和平基金会共同推动。
I wanted to know how a cell divides from 1 to 2, and the best approach to it was a genetical one, by identifying the genes that were involved in it. So although I'm a geneticist, I don't really study genetics. I study cell biology using genetics, is how I would describe it. So it was a wish to understand how life works, and in particular, this simple problem of cell division. And I use genetic approaches to it. Well, it was a surprise. I didn't discover that the person I thought was my sister was actually my mother until I was in my 57, something like that, yeah. And she had died by then, and so had my grandparents who brought me up. So I was surprised. On the other hand, I was always intrigued, being a geneticist, by the fact that I was more academic than I thought were my siblings, but actually weren't were my uncles and my mother, who left school at 15 and so on. So I always wondered about my genetics, but I never imagined what had in fact happened. Subsequently, I found out who my father is only 2 years ago, and he was working class as well, a bus driver actually, and so my genetics doesn't seem to have had much to do with my subsequent career, to be honest. What I will say, though, to be serious about it, I think I was at the age where opportunities opened up much faster and better. I think previously it was more difficult for somebody from my sort of family to succeed because education wasn't good enough and so on. So I think I was just at the right time that education was good, opportunities had increased, class consciousness had reduced, and so all worked in my favor, but not for my immediate family just before that. I think it's 2 reasons, really. The first is it's part of civilization to have knowledge about important things. In other words, it's culturally important. And if we didn't wonder about how things work, we wouldn't be human beings. So we need it for our culture and our civilization. Just like a painting, it's culture, this is culture too. The second reason, which is what most people think about, is that in terms of dealing with some human problems, particularly disease and also food production, agriculture, and also preserving the ecosystem, all requires understanding biology better, and we can contribute to that. The work I do is more relevant to probably disease and understanding how people develop, and so that is a contribution there practically, but it's both a culture thing and practicality. I think the biggest challenge is when political leadership stops taking science seriously, even in great nations like the United States, where because something ideologically doesn't fit with what a political leader thinks, that they will think they can just say that climate change, for example, isn't happening and we don't have to think about it. I mean, that isn't leadership. I think I have to identify climate change as the real problem because it's happening. We are responsible for it. We have to say the message, and we have to push back on those who just speak nonsense, which I'm afraid is coming out of the United States at the present time on this issue, and just show that the science completely undermines them and they're talking rubbish. We have to think about it and think about regulation. I think if we think about it and properly regulate it, that will be okay. If we just let it deregulate and go out of control, then maybe there's problems. And if we just let it be the responsibility of commercial operations, which are driven more by profit, then that cannot be the right answer. We have to have a more regulated system. It has to be global, and that is always difficult to deliver, as it is for climate change as well.